All right, you guys, so today we're talking about finding volume. It's the same as what we've been doing. We're going to be using a formula, so the most important thing you're going to get from this lesson is the formula. Each time we're doing these problems using formulas, hopefully you're getting more and more comfortable using a formula to solve. This is just one more of those times, okay? So I want your eyes to be on the screen. Make sure you're paying attention, looking with understanding, and learning this with me, all right? Finding volume. First of all, let's define volume. Volume is the number of cubic units needed to occupy a given space. I'd like you guys to pause the recording and write that definition down. Volume, the number of cubic units needed to occupy a given space. All right, now that you have that definition written down, you can think about it like a cardboard box. If you can visualize a cardboard box, a closed cardboard box, volume is how much air is inside. Okay, finding the amount of space that is inside, it's really helpful to know as far as what you could fit in there. Volume is the amount of area taken up inside a certain object or a certain shape. Okay? So, these are the two formulas that we're going to be learning today. Rectangular prism and triangular prism. Now notice that you've got a rectangular prism. Just picture a rectangle. Okay, it's like a cardboard box. Rectangular prism. Prism just means three-dimensional. Okay, so you've got a three-dimensional cardboard box, and you've got like a three-dimensional triangle. You could picture that like a tent or something that's triangular shape but three-dimensional. Okay, so these are the formulas that we're going to learn today. In your notes, pause the recording, write down rectangular prism, triangular prism, and then write the formula. Okay, so you should have rectangular prism with the formula V equals LWH, which is length, width, height, and triangular prism, volume equals length, width, height divided by 2. Now, I want you to draw these shapes and label them so that you know which is the length, width, and the height. But here's the little trick. So, for drawing the rectangular prism, you're going to do it right now. Draw just a rectangle, the first rectangle like this. Then you're going to draw one of similar size or the same size just behind and above, like on this particular example. Same size, just behind and above. Then connect the corners. Top left corner goes to the top left corner. Bottom left corner goes to the bottom left corner. And you're going to have a rectangular prism. Okay, so take a second, pause the recording, draw that. I realize that might be confusing, so if you're confused, look at the board one more time. You draw this rectangle, just a front rectangle, okay? Then you draw another one just like it right behind it, like a little bit above and to the right. Then you just connect the corners. Top left corner goes with the top left with the bottom left, top right with the top right, and bottom right with the bottom right. Okay, go ahead and finish drawing that. It does not need to be perfect. Then go ahead and label length, width, height. 0. Okay, again, it doesn't have to be perfect, so if it's not perfect, don't worry about it. Just try and visualize what it looks like. Now for the triangular prism, you're going to draw just a triangle, and then go right below it and draw another triangle, then connect the sides. So I'm going to connect the left part of the triangle together, the points of the triangle together, and then the right side of the triangle together. Draw two triangles, one on top of the other, and then connect the points. Pause the recording and do that. Okay, again, don't spend too much time on that. We're going to move on. We're using formulas, so you need to remember the steps to the formulas. If you don't have this memorized, you need to write it down again. Steps to solving with a formula, write down the formula, plug in the known information, and then solve the equation. Okay? Now, let's look at some examples. Okay? Here's an example. First of all, you have to ask yourself, is this a rectangular prism or a triangular prism? And it's got a rectangle in it, or a square. It's actually not a square, it's a rectangle. And so this is a rectangular prism. So we're going to use the formula for a rectangular prism, which is A equals, oh no, sorry, we're not doing area. We're doing volume. Volume equals LWH, length times width times height. I'm going to draw my line. Now I'm going to start plugging in the known information. V equals, it actually doesn't matter which goes where. Don't don't get confused on which is length, which is width, which is height, because it's going to give you three numbers and you just multiply them all together. So I'm going to throw them in, 3 times 2 times 4. When I multiply 3 times 2, I'm going to get 6. So volume equals 6 times 4, 6 times 4. The volume of this rectangular prism is 24 inches. Now here's where volume is different than area. You write a little 3 up there, cubed, okay? 24 inches cubed. Now, let's look at another problem. Another rectangular prism, right? So we're going to use the formula. Volume equals, I keep writing area. Volume equals length times width times height. And I want you guys to do this one with me. Okay, don't even worry about drawing the rectangle. I just want you to do the process of writing the formula down. So, writing the formula down, drawing the line straight down. Okay, now we're going to plug in the known information. It gives us only 3 pieces of information, so that's what we're going to plug in. 6 times 10. Okay? Now, volume equals 36 times 10. 36 times 10 is going to give you 360. So this is 360 inches cubed. That is the volume of this rectangular prism. Pretty simple, right? Almost every problem is going to give you 3 different numbers, and you plug those in for the 3 numbers in the formula, and you're good to go. Okay, let's look at one more example. Here's a triangular prism, right? Because it's got a triangle, 3-dimensional triangle shape. Notice again, it's only got 3 pieces of information. That's what we need to use. So we're going to use the formula for a triangular prism, which is V equals L, length times width times height, divided by 2. Okay, so now I'm going to plug in the known information. And since it gives us 3 pieces, we just know that we're going to plug in 3 for length. It doesn't actually matter again. 4 times 8, then divided by 2. Now, I'm just going to multiply. 3 times 4 is going to give me 12. Now I've got 12 times 8 divided by 2. I can multiply and divide in any order, so I'm going to choose to make it simpler, dividing 8 by 2 first. And I'm going to go volume equals 12 times now 4, because I divided the 8 and the 2 first. And now I've got 12 times 4. Volume is going to equal 48 centimeters cubed. Pretty simple. I'd like you to do that with me if you haven't already. Pause the recording and write that down if you haven't already. All right, so it's pretty simple as long as you follow the steps for solving a formula. Write the formula down, plug in the known information, then solve. So let's look at the formulas one more time. Make sure you've got this. A rectangular prism looks like that. It's got a rectangle, okay? Triangular prism has a triangle, 3-dimensional. The rectangular prism, you're going to multiply all 3 numbers. Triangular prism, you're going to multiply all 3 numbers and then divide by 2, just like finding the area for a triangle. Okay, now there's one other type of problem you're going to see in your homework. This problem is going to say, find the unknown length. Now look at this problem. They give us 2 sides and the actual volume. And then it says, find the other number, the missing number. So we solve it exactly like we've done in the past. We're going to write the formula down. This is a triangular prism, so I'm going to write volume equals length times width times height divided by 2. Now we plug in the known information. And this is exactly the same as we've always done. It's just giving us some different information. Does it give us volume? Yes, it does. So we're going to plug in for volume. 369 is equal to length. Let's say that length is the 8.2 number. And the width is the 9. And then we're solving for x divided by 2. Okay? Now, this may look confusing, but here's the trick. We've got to get this variable, this x, on a side by itself, which means we just start removing everything else. And whatever you do to one side, you're going to do to the other. So opposite operations cancel, if you guys remember that. So we're going to do the opposite operation to get rid of some stuff. So we are, for example, going to get rid of this 2, we're going to multiply by 2. That's going to allow us to cancel that divide by 2 out. But whatever I do to one side, I've got to do to the other side. So I'm going to multiply this other side by 2. When I multiply 369 by 2, I'm going to get 738. Now I have 738 is equal to 8.2 times 9 times x. Now again, I've got to get rid of the 9 and the 8.2. So what am I going to do? I'm going to divide by 9. That's going to cancel that out. I'm going to divide this side by 9. When I divide 738 by 9, I'm going to get 82. So now I've got 82 is equal to 8.2 times x. Now you should be thinking, okay, how am I going to get rid of that 8.2? I'm going to do the opposite operation. Opposite of multiplication is division. So I'm going to divide by 8.2. Do the same thing to the other side. Divide by 8.2. And when I divide 82 by 8.2, I'm going to get 10. So my answer is that missing length is 10 meters. So it's solved exactly the same. It takes a little bit of work, but you plug in the formula, or you write down the formula, you plug in the known information, and since it gives you the volume, you've got to get rid of everything that's over by the variable. So just start doing the opposite operation. I multiplied where you were dividing. I divided where you were multiplying. Ended up with x equals 10. Okay? Do your best on that. I think you'll do great. Hopefully this is seeming simple to you. Just follow the steps for solving a formula.